Hey everyone, it's about 1:15 p.m. I got about 25 minutes to go on my lunch. And I thought I'd do this, hopefully, better than usual now that it's a little quieter around here. Kids are back in school. I thought I'd kind of give you my thoughts on this year's 2014 WWE SummerSlam. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of mixed about SummerSlam. I mean, yes, we do have a very stacked card. Something that WWE's been getting better at, and that is making sure that there are matches on the card weeks in advance. So I'll give them that. Even though they might still, on occasions, throw an extra match in there just for the sake of it. Either it's a pre-show or it's just a bonus match. Now, as far as the match card itself, the matches themselves, let's start with the main event for the WWE World Title. Now, a lot of people are mixed about this. See, some people are happy that Brock Lesnar is taking on John Cena because they pretty much feel that if Brock Lesnar beats John Cena will no longer be champion, and perhaps Brock Lesnar will usher in a new age of WWE. But then again, on the other hand, you have those that are really not into this match that much, don't really care about this match that much, because they pretty much feel we're going to get the same result as we did 2.5 years ago, and that's John Cena beating Brock Lesnar, and then getting the same kind of excuse as we did with Bray Wyatt to continue the feud, even though John Cena had already won the first match, or in this case, the first 2 matches in the series. But when one thinks about it, you know, there's a lot of fans, like I said, there's a majority of fans that are hoping Brock wins because, like I said, they're hoping perhaps him being champion will make things change around there in the WWE. Now, some of you might say, well, why would they hope that? Well, it's real simple. You see, a lot of these fans have become spoiled. Now, I'm not saying that with any disrespect, all right? But a lot of these wrestling fans, these smart marks, have become spoiled about what they've gotten over the past few years, if not the past decade or so. With companies like Ring of Honor, Combat Zone Wrestling, TNA, Evolve, Dragon Gate, and even in their dying days, ECW, and a bit at times WCW, one of the things they always got a majority of was wrestling. And they look at someone like Brock Lesnar, and even though Brock Lesnar is more of an MMA kind of guy at times, they look at him as being the kind of guy that will bring prominence and wrestling, pure athleticism and wrestling back to WWE by beating John Cena. By basically proving once and for all that guys like John Cena, who in their eyes are not real athletes, not real wrestlers, cannot beat a real athlete, a real wrestler, a real fighter. And they hope by him becoming the WWE World Champion, that'll change things and open WWE's eyes to go in that direction of a more athletic, pure pro wrestling, pure pro fighting style that they've been spoiled with. And one can't blame them for wanting that. I mean, basically, they always keep saying they see the same thing over and over and over again. And that's true at times. It is true. But let me say this. Let me say this, okay? Let me say this. Just because you hope for that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Yes, all signs point to Brock Lesnar becoming champion, and yes, pretty much as some people have already predicted or already looking at, he's probably only going to have a 1-month title reign. Now, with that said, some are very mixed about how they're approaching this match. Some want it more in the style of what WWE is known for. They don't want to see WWE doing these UFC-like promos and build-ups and stuff like that. Well, here's what I look at. Here's my theory on that. I believe when Brock Lesnar came back, and even when he resigned resigned to stay on with the WWE after his first return, Brock Lesnar, along with Paul Heyman and whoever else, put in the contract that if he has to go up against someone like, let's say, a John Cena for a championship, because, John Cena's looked at as the face of the company, as the franchise player, that if he has to go up against someone like a John Cena, maybe a Triple H, maybe an Undertaker, and who knows who else, like a Randy Orton perhaps, or whoever, maybe even a Roman Reigns down the line, that every match has to be built like an MMA kind of match. Or not a MMA kind of match, but more of a MMA style presentation. More like a UFC style presentation. That's probably part of the contract because, let's face it, Brock Lesnar became accustomed to the way the UFC did things, the way the UFC built up to certain fights, like his fight with Frank Mir and others that he's had, with that kind of style, and maybe he became a fan of it. Maybe he enjoyed that because, in a sense, in his eyes, and maybe in the eyes of those that, kind of understand where he's coming from, that it makes it feel more like a big deal. It makes it feel like a real thing, like a legit thing. So to me, that's why I think we have these build-ups. We have these UFC style like promos and interviews. Sorry about that. I'm drinking Baja Blast Freeze from Taco Bell. Well, like I said, that's why we have these interviews, these promos. My guess is this is all part of his contract. And we may not like it, but if this is what's going to make him stay, or if this is what's going to get him to get in the ring and compete against people like a John Cena for a championship, then so be it. Let's go that route. Now, as far as how the match will go, like I said, there are some that are hoping and pretty much knowing Brock Lesnar is going to win this championship. But then again, you have others that are like, it's not going to happen because Brock Lesnar's not a full-time guy. He's not going to be around as much, so on and so forth. And both sides have a point. But here's why Brock's going to win. Here's why. Now, you'll probably say that John Cena would never give up. He's not going to tap if Brock puts him in the Kimura lock. And that even after 3 F5s, which pretty much finished off The Undertaker and the streak at WrestleMania, that after 3 F5s and maybe even a fourth one, John Cena is going to continuously kick out of pinfalls after pinfall after pinfalls. So this, I believe, is the direction they're going to go to put the title on Brock Lesnar, but still make John Cena look strong and still have John Cena, stay true to his motto of never give up. And that is, you're going to have John Cena in a submission move, whether it's the Kimura lock, a bear hug, a rear naked choke, whatever. And you're going to have him pass out from the pain. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, you might see some bloodshed in here, maybe a little bit. But still, you're going to have John Cena, and this is the direction I think they're going in, pass out from the pain. Thus, he's not pinned. Thus, he's not submitted. Basically, he didn't tap. He just passed out. And again, it allows Brock Lesnar to beat John Cena, but not make him tap or pin him. So that, I believe, is going to be the direction they go with when they get to the conclusion of this match on Sunday. Now, you might say, that's a good point, Bryan. But then again, you might say, well, Bryan, they may have him pin him clean. They had him pin The Undertaker clean. That's true, but that's what they wanted to go with. That's what they wanted to go with. All right? They wanted, since the beginning, someone, whoever was going to be, in this case it was Brock Lesnar, to beat The Undertaker by pinfall in the middle of the ring. That was the plan for whoever it was going to be. Now, we come to SummerSlam, and it will be up in the air of whether or not they have John Cena get pinned cleanly like he was last year when he lost to Daniel Bryan, or because it's a different person and a different kind of animal in Brock Lesnar, they just have him pass out from the pain, which I think is going to be the direction they go in. Because I don't think they're going to want Brock Lesnar to pin the one guy that's there constantly, day after day, a majority of the time, 95% of the time, whether you like the guy or not. They're not going to want him to pin him in the middle of the ring or make him tap out. I think mostly what's going to happen is John Cena is going to pass out from the pain. That's what I see happening. That's what I see happening. Now, as far as Stephanie McMahon and Brie Bella go, to me, I know a lot of people are not fans of this, and I know some are. But the reason this is happening is because it's a substitute for Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, Daniel Bryan versus The Authority. See, while Daniel is on the shelf, and yeah, we'll probably see him on Sunday in the corner of Brie Bella, to me, Stephanie McMahon and Brie Bella is going to be maybe not the prettiest Divas match, but it will be the most intense. That much I can say. Now, like I said, it is basically taking the place of Daniel Bryan versus Triple H versus The Authority. All right? Because when you look at how the women have gained momentum over the past 2 weeks, Stephanie with Stephanie Pettigrew, Brie in the middle of the ring, and then Brie this past Monday putting on a yes lock. I mean, these women are basically even with each other. I mean, both of them have momentum victories over each other. Brie over Stephanie when she had her arrested and, had her arrested. Stephanie Pettigrew Brie. Brie putting on the yes lock, and in the same night, Stephanie having Brie arrested. So, both ladies, from a momentum standpoint, have victories over each other. Got about 10 minutes to get back before my lunch break is over. But like I said, both ladies have momentum victories over each other. So what does that do going into SummerSlam? Who goes over here? Well, some people might say that Stephanie's going to go over, seeing as though she's kind of has a lot of backstage influence, and of course she'd want to be the one that goes over. Nuh-uh, ain't the case. I think because of what's going on, you're going to want Brie Bella to go over Stephanie. Think about it. Daniel Bryan, from a story perspective, went through all sorts of hell against The Authority before he finally beat Triple H and became WWE World Champion at WrestleMania. So basically, he overcame all that. Now, you're going to have a similar situation with Brie Bella beating Stephanie McMahon. And how's that going to happen? You're going to have Brie hit whatever move she now has, whatever her finisher is. And then she's going to lock on that yes lock in the middle of the ring, and Stephanie's going to tap. So that is the direction they're going to go in with who wins this matchup. I just feel that's what's going to happen. Now, though, a lot of people are hearing rumors that out of this feud, we're going to get another feud for Brie Bella, and it's going to be a Bella feud. It's going to be Brie versus Nikki. And why? Because pretty much the sources have reported that that's what we're building towards. And believe it or not a lot of fans are looking forward to that, because the last thing they want to see is the Bellas feuding. And, one could support that fact, but you got to look at it this way from a business standpoint. They're both on Total Divas, so why not go in that direction and give that show some momentum with two of the main stars feuding against each other. And when one thinks about it, there might be a reason behind it too. That reasoning could be to build to John Cena versus Daniel Bryan 2. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but that might be what they're building towards. That might be the reason we go in this direction. Because think about how the feud could start. You know, you could have Nikki Bella basically, turn on Stephanie either at SummerSlam after the match is over or the next night on Raw, where Stephanie says, well, you beat me. Well, guess what? There's always plan B, or should I say plan N. And then Nikki just suddenly turns on her sister. You know what I'm saying? So that could help build towards Cena Bryan 2. And here's why. From a story's perspective, you can have Nikki doing what a lot of people have been saying is going to probably happen. You can have her blame Brie for all the beatings she's taken over the weeks, over the past few months. But then you can also incorporate the fact that Nikki could come out and say, your husband only beat John the same way your husband beat Triple H at WrestleMania, and that is by fluke. You know, he beat him by a fluke, and in real life, you know, that in a real match situation, he couldn't really beat him if John was at 100%. She could use that excuse because, you know, let's face it, John wasn't at 100% when he lost to Daniel. But you could have Nikki Bella use that as a building point, or a starting point to Bryan Cena 2, where Nikki would challenge Brie not Nikki, but Nikki on behalf of Cena, even though Cena wouldn't probably go for it in a storyline perspective. You could have her say, if Daniel comes back at 100%, he should face John at 100% as well to see if he can really beat him. So to me, that's why I think they're going to do this feud, whether we want to see it or not. And that is because of the real reason behind it, to build to John Cena, Daniel Bryan 2 down the line. Maybe at WrestleMania for the WWE World title. And again, I know some people may not like to hear that, but I think that's where they're going with it. But yeah, I do believe on Sunday Brie's going to win, but then of course you're going to have the Authority come up with a plan B, or in this case the plan N, which will result in Nikki turning on her sister. And I also believe Brie's going to come out beforehand, either on Raw or SummerSlam before her match, and say, I've never believed a word you said about Daniel having an affair with his physical therapist, because I found out he never did, and all you did was pay her off to try to get at me, and you almost succeeded. That's what's going to come out of that whole situation on Monday about that whole affair deal. She's just going to tell Stephanie, hey, I found out you just had Daniel's therapist make it all up because you're scared to fight me tonight. So that's what I think is going to happen there. Anyway, though, I do believe, like I say, Brie's going to come out of this on top as the winner. But I also think it's going to lead towards Nikki and Brie, and the real reason behind that will be to lead and build to Cena Bryan 2. That's what I believe. Now, as far as Roman Reigns and Randy Orton, of course, this is probably going to be the final step in Reigns getting a match with Triple H. Reigns will probably get his match with Triple H officially, not the next night on Raw, but probably the Raw after. And I believe there's going to be some kind of stipulation for this match. Now, as far as Randy and Reigns go, expected to have an added stipulation of no DQ. Expect that to happen. But expect Reigns to go over in this match. Expect him to go over. Expect it to build towards him and Triple H either at Night of Champions or maybe even Hell in the Cell if he has to have one more match with Randy at Night of Champions. And expect that match with Triple H either at Night of Champions or Hell in a Cell to have a stipulation. Either at Night of Champions, it's a street fight, or what I think WWE wants to build towards, a Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell, with the stipulation that if Reigns wins, Triple H and the Authority are done. They no longer have control. So I think that's what this Sunday's match with between Randy and Reigns is building towards. Either to a match at Night of Champions between him and Triple H, or a match at Hell in a Cell. So expect this to be the starting point toward that match. Expect it to happen Night of Champions or Hell in a Cell. But I do expect Reigns to go over Randy here. As far as Paige and AJ, I expect a decent Divas match for the championship. But I do expect AJ to go over in this match. I really do. As far as Jericho and Wyatt, I definitely see a good match, maybe a show stealer. But I expect Wyatt to hopefully go over so you can have a climax, a conclusion, a final chapter at Night of Champions. Rusev and Swagger, I would expect a power brawl here, a powerhouse match. And I would expect Swagger to come out on top because it is a flag match and there's no pinfall or submission needed to win the match. So I do expect Swagger to go over here, especially if it's the U.S. flags, one of the flags at stake, if you know what I mean. Ziggler and Miz, I expect Miz to go over. So that's what I say. I see a decent match there, but I expect Miz to go over. And Ambrose and Rollins, Lumberjack, I expect a show stealer there. Lumberjack's involved, maybe beating up on both of them. Maybe this is where you have this new nation get involved. But I do expect Rollins and Ambrose to be a show stealer, and I expect them to go all the way. But I do also expect a new nation to make their presence known during this match. So I do expect that to happen. Overall, I expect a decent pay-per-view. If I missed a match or so, I apologize. But I do expect a decent pay-per-view down the line for WWE. Hopefully it'll be a good one. And that's all I have to say. I have to head back to work now. I'm a little late getting back, but I'll be okay. But until next time, folks, let me know what you think. But those are my thoughts on this year's 2014 SummerSlam, which comes up this Sunday. So until next time, God bless, take care. I am out, and I'm heading back to work.